Well, look, let's talk about the very exciting subject of infrastructure.
Oh, I love a bit of infrastructure.
We love infrastructure.
Love a bit of
around here.
infrastructure. Go on.
And the progress on Western Sydney Airport.
Oh, that's my
specifically.
favourite infrastructure. You treat me, Jake. You treat me.
It's. I know you too well, Adam. So this is. The opening of Western Sydney Airport is now less than 1,000 days away. It's planned to open at the end of 2026. And there have been some kerfuffle with business groups saying that the airport needs to, or that the government needs to scale back on the what they're saying is the gold-plated road solutions around the airport. To make sure that the airport will have ground connectivity when it opens. And there's also some worries about how well the Bradfield Aerotropolis is coming along, which is going to be providing all these homes and businesses near the airport. So the Property Council of Australia, as reported in the Herald, has called on the government to ditch what it calls gold-plated road infrastructure. They're saying things like cycleways and footpaths should be scrapped. Ross Grove, who is the Western Sydney director for the Property Council, says, quote, "Nobody is going to hop on their bicycle with 20 kilograms of luggage to ride from Fairfield to Western Sydney Airport until we have an affordable road solution. International passengers to Western Sydney will be landing on a runway surrounded by sheep paddocks and the occasional truck stop."
What a smart-ass thing to say. I don't know who it is that released that statement. Oh, no one's going to be cycling with all their luggage on the back. Well, obviously not.
Yeah, obviously that would be absurd. But the thing with the footpaths and the cycle paths is, as someone has pointed out on Twitter, I don't recall who, so if you pointed this out on Twitter and you happen to be listening to the podcast, thank you for pointing this out on Twitter. But someone has pointed out, obviously nobody's going to be cycling from Fairfield to the Western Sydney Airport with 20 kilograms of luggage on the back of their bike, but people who live in the Bradfield Aerotropolis, or people who live locally to the airport and work at the airport, might want to cycle or walk to work instead of having to drive or take the metro. You know, if you live near the airport and work at the airport, cycling or walking would be a logical thing to do. Or maybe you live near the airport and you don't work there, but you've got to get down to Melbourne for a meeting at 12 and, back at 5 o'clock. So you're not going to be taking a full suitcase down to Melbourne. You're going to be taking, a backpack at most.
And also, so this airport, obviously it's going to take a long time to grow over over a number of decades, but the plan is eventually for it to be significantly bigger than the traditional Sydney airport. I think I've said some estimates it could eventually be about twice the size of it. So it just seems a little bit silly that you would you would get rid of vital infrastructure for pedestrians and for cyclists for something that's going to last 30 years because you want to rush to open it on time. Because
now opening it on time is important.
Is important.
Does
yes,
need roads.
It does. Yes.
But we've also got the chief executive of Urban Task Force, property development lobby group, Tom Forrest, was talking about the slow upgrade process on Mamre Road. I live here. I live in Sydney. I don't know how to pronounce the name of that road. It's disgraceful. But they said that the slow upgrade progress is alarming on that road. Also called for agencies to collaborate on a task force to basically clear bottlenecks on progress on the Aerotropolis and make progress on infrastructure. Memorable quote from Mr. Forrest here: "The airport will open and be surrounded by fields with cows and the occasional pelican."
Pelican? Pelicans, I'm not an expert on the pelican. You know where they don't hang around the airport? I have never seen a pelican.
Especially not Western Sydney Airport. Now, fly pelican, maybe.
Yes, fly pelican, maybe. Now, I live by the sea, and I still only see a pelican once a year, once or twice a year if I'm lucky. And you know what? Pelicans, they love hanging around the seaside. They don't and I love an airport. I love a runway. I love a terminal, as I'm sure you do. Pelicans don't. There are no plain spot in Pelicans. There's none. There's none.
Not with that attitude.
There's not. And why would they want to hang around somewhere they could get run over as well? So that's ridiculous. Again, more smart-ass comments from these people who clearly aren't aviation believers like us.
Yeah, so they don't have faith in the aviation gods and so may attract the wrath of the dread Enoch. Now, Transport Minister Catherine King the other week turned the first sod on the airport's business precinct, and she has described the airport as 73%
What a
complete.
nerdy thing to
73%
say.
complete.
73% complete. Isn't that like 3/4? Now 73? Ridiculous. Go on, sorry.
It's just shy of 3/4.
Yeah.
And also any delays, she has laid the blame at the feet of the previous New South Wales coalition government.
Of course, as is tradition.
She's a politician, and she is maintaining that the airport is on track to open in late 2026. She says, quote, "I understand that the Minns government inherited a bit of a mess here and having to really work their way through to make sure that that is investment ready so that private sector investment can be done, and that's why the draft master plan for the Bradfield Aerotropolis coming out in February was so important, and that work is being undertaken by the New South Wales government." She said, "My job as the Federal Infrastructure Minister is to build the airport, but to work really closely with the New South Wales government to make sure we've got that enabling infrastructure in place, and that work's underway." Now, there is one important note here, which is that, of course, at least for the first couple of years, the fuel for the airport will be coming in on big B-double trucks because there will be no pipeline when the airport opens. So it is important to get those roads built. But, we don't want to be short-sighted here.
No, there's some excellent skullduggery here, because obviously, firstly, she's not as you just blamed this on the Libs, she's blamed this on the Liberal state government, and then emphasised this is being picked up by the new Labour state government. So what she's done is she's immediately obviously gone for the obvious people. Let's dump on the opposition. But she's left it open so that if things do go wrong, this is primarily responsible of the state government and not her at all. So she's sort of washed her hands of this in many ways. When this is a 50-50 federal state project, I seem to believe.
It's a real political. I don't want to say masterstroke.
No,
because it's not really a masterstroke. It's a real political stroke.
It's a political stroke. Well, let's move on. Talking about that could well be an argument to come.